Hi everybody, my name is Reed Redding, and today I will be presenting my research on the effects of musical and foreign language training on the perception of voiceless alveolar and voiceless endodental fricatives before and after vowels. Before we begin, there's several things I want to make note of, and the first of which is that sound involves many different aspects such as different frequency, amplitude, duration, tones, and pitches. And what's interesting is that these are all different aspects of speech sounds, but there are also different aspects of musical sounds. And so several researchers have found connections between individuals with musical training and their ability to correctly perceive speech sounds. Unfortunately, no published research has yet considered the effects of musical training on an individual's ability to correctly perceive similar consonants. In this study, an example of that would be the S sound and the soft TH sound. And there have also been no previous studies considering the effects of foreign language training on speech perception in general. The next thing I want to mention is that there are several terms that are important to understand in order to know what's happening in this study. The first is fricative, which is simply a consonant sound produced with friction. We have several of these in English, such as F, TH, S, and SH. Voicing is another descriptor of speech sounds, which is describing the vibration of the vocal cords in sound production. An example of an unvoiced and a voiced pair would be F and V in English. And for the purposes of this study, a stimulus is simply a vowel consonant or a consonant vowel pair presented to the participants. The specific sounds that are studied in this research were the S sound and the TH sound, the soft TH sound specifically. And in the International Phonetic Alphabet, their symbols are S for the S sound and a lowercase theta for the TH sound. I also provided a practice set for participants if they wanted it. And so for the practice sounds, there was an F sound and an SH sound. So those symbols are provided here as well. And finally, these were the symbols for the different vowels that were included in this study. We had the I as in hit, the A as in hat, and the O as in the British hot. The purpose of this research was to consider how musical training and foreign language training affect individuals' ability to correctly perceive fricative consonant sounds. This was specifically studied through 42 different participants from Corban University who were presented with one of 3 stimuli sets of 6 consonant vowel and 6 vowel consonant pairs. And they were also given the opportunity to listen to a practice set with 2 consonant vowel and 2 vowel consonant pairs. Before they were presented with the stimuli, they were asked several questions about previous musical training and previous foreign language training. And then they were presented with a stimuli set. You see here the 3 different stimuli sets and the different stimuli that were included in those sets. And then you can also see the practice set with the 4 stimuli that I included for that. There is one stimuli here that is in red, and that is because we ended up deleting any data about this stimuli from the study because there were unfortunately errors in the recording. After the data were collected, we performed a calculation to find the error rate of each participant, which was found by taking the number of incorrect responses and dividing that by the number of total responses. This was used to find different categories observing mean error rates. So the different categories that were observed were 4 groups based on years of musical training, 2 groups based on the presence of musical training, so basically whether or not the participants had any musical training, 2 groups where all people had foreign language training, and then they were divided based whether or not they had musical training. And then the last was 6 different groups based on the years of foreign language training they had received. Unfortunately, this one we decided not to analyze as no apparent patterns were observed. So in this graph, we see the mean error rates of participants as compared by the years of musical training. And as you can see, there were no statistically significant findings, but as generally seen, individuals with musical training had lower error rates than individuals without musical training. This led us to consider simply whether or not people have musical training. Once again, as you can see, our p-value was not low enough to be considered statistically significant, but it was a step in the right direction. And so we decided to consider it even further by removing anybody who did not have foreign language training. So all individuals in this graph had foreign language training. And as we can see here, the p-value is once again reduced, but it is not statistically significant. So in conclusion, no significant effects of musical and foreign language training were seen on individuals' perception ability of the S and the TH sounds, but trends were observed that I believe are valuable for future research consideration. As we went on in our study, we saw that the p-value did decrease, and perhaps future research with an increased sample size, better stimuli recordings, and a more controlled testing environment would allow for actually statistically significant findings. Here are a couple of resources that I mentioned previously, and I just want to thank you so much for listening. Feel free to email me with any questions at this email address. And if you are interested in more information about this study or the topic that I've been talking about, feel free to send me a message. Thank you so much and have a great day.